Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am excited to be with my good friend Chase Erkins from Lee and Associates today. Chase and I have been friends since what, 2006?
Uh, Maybe 2005, right? So
2005.
20 years, yeah.
2005, 20 years. How does that happen?
I don't know. I don't feel the same that I did back then.
Right? You and me both. So we met in college. We were in the same fraternity and became great friends there, and have just kept the relationship going since then. Chase is a master at real estate, which is one of the things I love hearing about all the things he has going on and all the knowledge he has to share with us. So, with that said, Chase, I'd love to throw the ball to you. Introduce yourself a little bit and what's your story?
Yeah. So thanks for having me on. Um, Chase Erkins, a commercial real estate broker. Been doing this with Lee and Associates now for about 13 years now. Joined in 2012 when I moved from Moscow, Idaho, down to Boise, and jumped in head first and was a massive failure for like the first 3 years.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, it was a rough startup. 2012 was not super amazing economy in Boise at the time. Other markets had started to come out of the recession. We were getting there. It was just starting to kind of edge up. But people who were 20-year veterans at that time were still doing 200 square foot leases, and they were month to month, so those are like $25 commissions. There's nothing to it. So
Right.
yeah, that was the competition. It was humbling, but you learn how to get through it and try and be successful on the other side. And at least I'm still in it, so it's good. But
Wow. I didn't realize the first 3 years were such a struggle. Um, if there was someone thinking about getting into commercial real estate, what helped you get through that?
lots of credit cards.
Lots of cards.
Yeah, I was probably $90,000 in credit card debt by the time I started actually making money. And I would just do balance transfers to zero interest credit cards. So because I had good credit, I was able to kind of keep moving things along. Uh, so it's not how you should start out. Don't do that. Um, Anybody looking to get in, I actually, you know, I interview a lot of guys that are interested in commercial real estate, and I tell them my story and say, you probably shouldn't do this unless you have a really good bank account behind you, or somebody who's willing to help you. Maybe you're transitioning from another career where you've got a good nest egg, because the first few years, even if you've been very successful in something else, they're probably going to be challenging. you know
Mm,
I have a lot of friends who will switch from mortgage and go to residential real estate, and they think all their contacts from mortgage are going to just follow over and do residential real estate with them. Well,
mm.
if they're in that field, they probably already have a residential real estate agent too. So
Right.
they don't just move over with you. So even if you've been successful in something else, there's a learning curve. So just
Yeah.
prepare for it. Understand you're getting into a new industry, and there's going to be some education along the way, and it'll probably be humbling. And now, hopefully, we could probably get you to being successful somewhere in like 14 months to 2 years. I mean, fast
Yeah.
track means there's much better training now than when I joined. The commercial industry is very slow to evolve, but
Mm.
over the last 12 years has you've seen exponential increases in the technology and the training. It's less of the wild, wild west. So, but still
Oh,
very slow to
absolutely.
adopt.
Right. I can only imagine. So, what was thinking about your earlier years? What was the hardest part about commercial real estate and getting into it?
um, the hardest part is just myself. All right.
Yeah.
I'm a people pleaser generally, and I was much more then than I am now. But uh, you know, call reluctance was hard. I don't like hearing no on the phone. And
Yeah.
if you want to be successful, you got to get out, you got to market, and a lot of that is cold calls. So
Right.
yeah, that was a challenge for me. So instead of doing what I now teach people to do, to go out and make cold calls and do follow-ups and everything that you're supposed to be a good salesperson, I went out and did the shotgun approach for person to person, like right here,
Yeah.
you, me talking, and I did 11 networking groups. And that's,
11.
yeah, it's good for getting well known, but those aren't necessarily your target audience. Those aren't the people
Right.
that you need to be in front of that own buildings and own businesses. A lot of them are also out there marketing, but they're marketing for a business that they work for. Those aren't people that are able to be, helped into a commercial building, right?
Right.
Or, that want to do an investment property. So it's a lot of time getting well known, but not making money. So
Oh man.
yeah.
That sounds painful.
Uh, yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. I like being in front of people. I like talking, and that was good. But yeah, it was not productive.
Yeah.
Busy, not making money.
Yeah.
Uh, my calendar looked really full.
I bet it did.
Yeah,
Oh, I can't get over the thought of having 11 networking groups you're a part of.
nobody should entertain that. Yeah,
Okay. Good.
it's
Good.
bad. No, now I teach people like, hey, here's how to cold call. Here's what we need to do. There's gonna be follow up. Go through all that, but you still need to be in, 2 to 3 groups. It doesn't need to be networking groups, but find a hobby, something that you're interested in that gets you in front of people who could potentially turn into a referral source or somebody who needs a building. But you still have to be out and getting known and networking that way. But really, you're going to be making your money off of cold calling, handwritten letters, doing stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
How many, on average, how many transactions does a commercial real estate agent do a year? Or is that even how they look at it?
It's something that we look at and track, but it's not going to give you too much information because the deal size, right? So
Mm,
those first few years, I was doing a lot of transactions. I did 78, 76, and like 84 in those first 3 years transactions.
wow. Okay.
Yeah. But if it's a 190 square foot office that's month to month and the check is $37, it doesn't matter. That's not a good way to do business. Again, busy but not productive. um, but that's
Right.
how I started out. And last year was different. I think it was 48 transactions, much different size, lots more purchases than the small little leases.
Yeah.
Still, probably last year was like 62% purchases, and the other was leasing. So the business evolves over time, but in big markets, New York, San Francisco, places like that, they might have 2 or 3 transactions a year, but they're much larger transactions. You know,
Gotcha.
yeah, I was on a call with one of my business coaches, and it was one where there's brokers from all over the market. And one of the questions that the instructor asked was how many, that I did last year. And that at that time, I think I said like 56 for one of my
Mm,
previous years. And he's like, yeah, ooh, a lot of you on this phone call probably can't even fathom 56 deals because their markets are so much different. If they're looking to do industrial investment sales in the Phoenix area, and they hit 2 big ones, and it's $400 million to $600 million in value out of those 2 things. Well, that sustains them for the next couple of years. So
right.
yeah, just different
Right.
markets. So the number of transactions is a metric, but it doesn't tell a whole lot of a story.
Gotcha. So there's really, eh, based on all of that, there's no uh, set benchmark in the industry for number of transactions then. Is there a common benchmark that commercial real estate agents compare themselves to each other on?
Uh, yeah, I mean, the biggest one that we compare ourselves on would be commissions earned, right? How
Okay.
much money are you actually bringing in?
Yeah.
So, somebody who does one deal, but it's a $2 million commission can compare themselves to somebody who does 100 deals and it's still, $2 million of commission.
Right.
I don't know
Right.
which one's necessarily smarter because if that one deal falls apart, you're kind of in trouble, but it sure would be nice to do the one deal and get it.
So, thinking from the buyer standpoint of someone buying from a commercial real estate agent, what all should we be looking at, thinking about when it comes to getting into commercial real estate?
Well, as a buyer, one of the things to keep in mind is that typically in our market, at least, and I think in most markets, the seller is the one who is paying the commission.
Okay.
So as a buyer, you can use a commercial real estate broker, use our expertise, our inside networks to potentially find off-market properties. But you get to utilize the expert, but not pay for the expert.
Mm,
So there's not really a reason that you should go directly to the selling agent and not have
mm,
your own representation, but it happens all the time. So
yeah. So that's like double ending it,
yes,
right?
yeah.
Yep.
It happens a lot with commercial, not so much in the residential world.
Okay.
Yeah. And I
That's
only do commercial, but sometimes I compare and contrast just so that people can kind of say, like most people have bought a house,
right.
but they haven't bought a building. So I'll go back and forth on comparisons sometimes.
Yeah, I could see that. So buying a building, what are some of the things a buyer should be thinking about 6 to 12 months before really going out and pulling the trigger on a building?
Yeah.
Is there planning stuff that they should be looking at?
Yeah, and it depends on what your buying profile is too. If you are a business owner and you're looking for a place to house your business, you
Mm,
need to make sure that you have it set up for what it's going to fit your business now, but what's going to fit your business in the future. Because if you're buying it, that's a much longer term commitment typically than leasing something. If
mm,
you think you're going to grow exponentially in the next 2, 3, 5 years, you're probably not buying a building. You should probably be looking at leasing at that point. Um,
okay. That's
Going down a little rabbit
good
hole, unless
advice.
unless you then want to buy the building, put your business in there for a couple years, and then grow into the next one. Keep that building and rent it out and develop a portfolio that way. That's also a different buyer's profile, right? But if you're
Right.
going to be that business that's very heavy, call it manufacturing, and you're going to be there for a long time, if it's a 20-year deal, you want to look at buying, but you have to buy for now and for what your future growth is. So the planning that goes into that, I mean, that kind of makes my head hurt.
Yeah.
They really have to be good at forecasting their business and understanding that. And as brokers, we help with some of that. We're the what is it, the mile wide, inch deep kind of group. We learn a lot about all these different entities or different businesses, but we're not actually running the businesses, so we don't
Mm,
necessarily know like, hey, in 20 years, is this going to be a good fit for you? So we can help out with some things that we've seen and learned along the way. But
mm,
yeah, that's definitely one thing to keep in mind up front. For somebody who's going to buy a building, put their business in it, financing that far out is something to think of. Making sure that you have at least your 10 to 20% down for 10% for SBA loan, Small Business Administration loan, that is government subsidized to
yeah.
help with small businesses. Or if you do a conventional one, then you need 20, sometimes 25% down, depending on how your business is and how the banks look at you. So
Okay.
those are things to start thinking about. Have a good relationship with your banker, talking through with them. If you don't have a banker, commercial brokers have relationships like that and can make introductions too for referral. Like, hey, I've worked with this person. They're good. They help out people in, the dental field all the time. This is the type of person that you need to work with. Um,
Right.
yeah. So that's what you think about upfront from that perspective. If you're an investor, well, it's different. You've probably got capital on hand. You were already successful in another field to get the money. And now you need to figure out what your investment criteria is. What kind of returns do you want? What type of building do you want? Do you want single tenant? Do you want multi-tenant? Are you going to do the management yourself? Are you going to hire out the management? Um, you know, are you comfortable with buildings that need to be fixed up and then you can add value and then, create a better return that way? That's a different profile than somebody who's, you know, to generalize, 69 years old, they've already, completed, 1, 2 careers. And now all they want to do is get that, mailbox money is what
Right.
we call it, right? Which there is no passive investment, but it can be more passive if you go and buy a 25-year lease Taco Bell
Yeah.
and they take care of everything. It's an absolute triple net lease where they pay the taxes directly. They do all the maintenance on the building. They carry all the insurance, and you literally just get a check in the mail until they go to sell their entity or something. Then you might get contacted, but it's a much more passive thing. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, so figure out what your buyer profile is, what criteria works for you, and then you can go out and start, talking with brokers and figuring out which broker you want to work with that fits your type of investment and your type of personality. It's not a one size fits all, right?
Mhm.
Brokers are typically type A, hard charging, go, 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 but not everybody. But that does seem to be probably, I don't know, call it north of 80% probably of the broker profile. So if that fits your profile, great. If not, then you kind of got to search a little bit more, find the right people that are going to be understanding. And, you know, sometimes you want a young broker who doesn't necessarily know it all. But if you've been in the real estate industry for a while, you don't necessarily need that. You need somebody who will pick up the phone and go and find the type of asset that you want. I
Right.
want a fixer up 1990s multifamily property with 40 to 60 units, right?
Right.
Those don't just come on the market every day. They get dug up and they typically don't see the market if, they're in the
Mm.
right spot. Um, so
So there's a lot of off-market deals going on.
there's no shortage. That is, yeah, a lot of deals get done without seeing the light of day. We just sold one, I guess it closed in March, and I had helped the buyer buy it through another broker in our office. And then 2 years later, turned around and sold it. And it went out to our office before it hit the market. And we had
Mm.
3 offers inside our office, and it never saw the light of day. It closed in 45 days. You know, it could have been a cash offer, but he decided to do a seller carry with 50% down. And then the seller became the bank for the other 50%. So,
Nice.
but yeah, there's lots of off-market deals that get dug up, and usually, if the seller is realistic, most brokers have a buyer for that.
Mm.
Um, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's how all of it gets done. Sometimes, as a seller, the best thing that you can do is get as many eyeballs as possible on your property, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah. So if someone's looking for a broker, what should they be looking for? It sounds like personality is a big, do you mesh well, but what else is there to be aware of?
communication is one that I think is very important. I try to respond very quickly to all of my clients, sometimes too quickly, actually. I've been told by one of my former coaches that you might be related to. Um,
Right.
I'm a fast responder, but I don't want people to be waiting on me and have me be the problem for them not getting the property that they want and not getting, things done in a timely manner to help move their business along. So I think communication styles and speed are important things to think about.
Mm.
Is you know, there's some slower response times for some brokers in the industry.
Right.
And yeah, so make sure that that matches your style. And then knowledge is going to be one of them, right? Some deals can get pretty interesting and you might need to be creative. But if you've never seen multiple different styles or structures of deals, then you're not able to help advise, your client who maybe does, is only purchasing one building their entire life, or maybe they do it once every 10 years. That's not something where you're going to know all the different nuances of different ways to purchase a building. So knowledge goes a long ways. And that's one reason why brokers who make it for, 15 plus years in the industry, they end up having a lot of repeat business and referrals, because they've been able to help clients get through some interesting situations. All right.
Yeah.
So the knowledge is going to go a long ways. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't always mean that the oldest broker or the one that's in it the longest is the right one for you or the best one, but the knowledge definitely is something that you just have to earn over time.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes, in situations where you have teams, I have two different people on my team inside of Lee and Associates, and they are great at going out and talking to people and calling and following up. Like, they are very strong at that. And then if they get something that's kind of a little different and they haven't seen, one of them's been with me 5 years, one's been with me for 16 months now. Like, if they haven't
Mm.
seen it, then they can come and talk to me, and then we can go through different scenarios and options. And if I haven't seen it, I've got another broker in the office who goes through and we can do that. So, the guy
Mm.
who's been in it for 16 months is great at digging up those off-market properties that fit what your needs is. So he might be the right broker as long as he has somebody to help along with, different aspects of it. So the team is a
Mm.
good way to grow and improve the skill sets and offset my lack of cold calling.
Right.
Yeah. So it doesn't necessarily need to be one broker fits all. It could be one team fits all also.
Okay. Awesome. So if someone was looking for commercial real estate, how would they get a hold of you? What would that process look like?
Well, if they know my name specifically, hopefully I'm doing okay enough on the internet that they type it in and it shows up. uh, but if not, one way that we get found a lot by people who are, let's say they've owned a business, they're in it for 7 years, and instead of leasing, they want to go and look at buying, or if they need to lease another property, they typically hop on the internet and they type in Boise commercial real estate, and then
Mhm.
that will pop up with LoopNet, Crexy, CoStar, those kind of things. That's where we market our properties, which is basically the commercial MLS is kind of how we describe it. So that's where all the properties are kept. Well, they get on and then they put in what's your criteria. It's like, I'm looking for an office building, 15,000 square feet in Meridian, Idaho. Okay.
Yeah.
So that pops up and it goes through the options. Well, the brokers who have the listings on those then start to be contacted by somebody who was like, hey, this looks like it fits my building. I haven't bought one before. I don't really know how it works. Well, that's how we start the conversation and get things going. So that's how you'll find a lot of brokers. That or, leads groups. If the buyer is a part of that, then they can talk to somebody in there, be like, who have you used in the past? How does this work? And get a referral that way. So that's how a buyer who is a business owner would find it. Now, an investor is going to be a different profile again. That
Right.
is probably somebody who's done it before or getting a referral. And maybe they're new to this market, but they've done it a lot in California, which is a pretty common occurrence, right? They've got a building down there, they're going to sell it and they're going to move up here or just move their investment outside of California. And they could already have a relationship with a Lee and Associates broker down there, and they get referred to one of us up here.
Mhm.
Or if they don't have a relationship with anybody, they're probably going and looking at all the properties on LoopNet and Crexy, seeing what fits their profile, and then seeing like, is there a common broker that is doing this,
Mhm.
and then reach out to that person specifically. Do a little bit more research usually.
That's awesome. So there's a lot of ways to find that broker, depending on what it is you're looking for and what speciality you need help with. How important would you say a referral is when it comes to commercial real estate?
Referrals are great for in every business, right? It's good to have somebody that you feel like and trust that tells you that this person has been a good referral for them, good person to work with for them. We I can't remember actually what my number is on my referral percentage, but it's very high. Like that's I don't know, so that's how I kind of get my stuff is from referrals and just being involved in the community. somebody that they've worked with or at least know something a lot about. That's going to be a good match for your profile usually.
Right.
But then somebody
Right.
like that can also, be a good referral source for, if you get a building, then you need a HVAC contractor. If you need an electrician, you need a plumber, you need all of these different things. That the Rolodex is there too. And that referral, typically comes from a broker out to somebody who hasn't already owned a building. So,
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, we are at the end of our time. Anything else you'd like to leave our listeners with? Thoughts, comments, ideas that you think would be beneficial for them?
I think getting educated up front is very helpful, but you can also lean on industry professionals to fast track a lot of things and make it so that the buying process is easy or selling process, whatever it may be. Reach out, get a feel, ask questions if you're looking for a broker. What sets you apart? Why should I work with you? What's your experience? That kind of stuff. Have you done anything in the field of, call it medical or whatever their interest is? Just ask questions up front, do your homework, and finances in order.
Awesome. Well, we've been learning with Chase Erkins from Lee and Associates. He is a commercial real estate agent here. Do you call them real estate agents or commercial brokers?
Real estate agents, yes, we aren't necessarily all realtors. That's a definite.
Okay. So Chase is an expert here in the Boise market. If anybody is looking for commercial space or help with commercial space, I would highly encourage you to check him out. leonassociates.com, Idaho / Chase Erkins. He's an amazing guy. He is an awesome friend, and you can't go wrong working with Chase. So with that said, I hope everybody has a great day, and we'll talk to you all soon.